Welcome everyone to today's class. I am Dr. Jayashree. I am going to give an introduction to the pharmacology today in this session. Let's go through the contents which we are going to go through in this session. This is a brief outline of as of like what we are going to discuss further. Coming to this pharmacology, our like we human beings uh, are always troubled with diseases even in old days also, like even in ancient days. So there were also studies even then, like the world's oldest known therapeutic writings come from India and China. Like the earliest Indian records are the Vedas. You must have heard certain names of Vedas, but like there are medical descriptions in Rig Veda, but this Ayurveda now you can hear often, since this is now an existing medical practice we are having in India. It is the science of life advocates various medicinal preparations of herbal and mineral origin. So these are presented in ancient treatises like Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, and Vagbhata. These are is like the studies done by some people in ancient age in India. Coming to Chinese material medica, this is called Pan Cao. It was probably written in 2735 before Christ and contained many plant and metallic preparations and a few animal products. Coming to the Western medicine, there are some ancient studies done on how to treat diseases. Like the papyri were the first written account of medical experiences from Egypt, and this dates back to 1900 before Christ. And this was discovered by George Ebers in 1872 AD. This papyri mentions about 700 herbal remedies, including opium, which is now used, like it is a well-known drug which has been studied on a lot. Now, another thing, a Babylonian clay tablet also is found 700 BC, mentions about the 300 drugs. This is a brief history of like how even in ancient ages there were studies on how to treat different diseases or any pathological or any physiological conditions. Now coming to the pharmacology definition. This pharmacology is derived from a Greek words like pharmakon and logos. What is this pharmakon means? It is drug, and logos is science. Simply we can say it is science of studying about the drug. But when we have to define it, we can say pharmacology can be defined as a science which deals with the mechanism of action, therapeutic uses, adverse effects, and fate of drugs in human beings or animals. Mechanism of action is how the drug is going to act in the body, like to uh, kill the microorganism or to alter any physiological system, uh, to effectively act on a pathological condition in human being, how it is going to act. And therapeutic uses, like when you are giving a drug to the human being, what are the uses it is having on the human body, like what are the uses we have to see for when we are giving. And adverse effects, simply we can say side effects. Every drug has some adverse effects which has to be studied on and which has to be looked for when you are giving a drug to a person. And fate of drugs, fate means like how the drugs, after the drug acts on uh, body, it has to be metabolized and eliminated. But like that is what is called fate of drugs. This is also is studied in this pharmacology. So, how drugs can alter the physiological or biochemical functions of a living organism? This question leads to many like studies in pharmacology. Coming to the drug, we were talking about drug here, like pharmacon is the drug. So, what is the drug? According to World Health Organization (WHO), a drug is any substance or product that is used or intended to be used to modify or explore physiological systems or pathological states for the benefit of the recipient. See here, the substance or product is can be used to modify the physiological system, means for example we can say any hormonal imbalance is there, you can give hormones to correct the imbalance, it is modifying a physiological system. Or we can explore like a diagnostic purpose, or when we use like a dyes, it is also exploring it, but the dye is also a kind of drug. And pathological states for the benefit of the recipient. As you know, we have pathological states means like different kinds of diseases or infections, which are also can be dealt with this drug. And for the benefit of the recipient, the recipient should have a benefit when we are using the drug on that person. And this drug is again categorized into non-prescription drugs, prescription drugs. These non-prescription drugs are usually safer drugs, and these can be sold over the counter. This OTC is over the counter. And usually here, like India, we are having many over the counter drugs. It was very common, but usually safer drugs only has to be uh, sold over the counter, can be sold over the counter. For example, vitamins, antacids, and paracetamol, it is being sold over the counter here. But coming to prescription drugs, these drugs are used under medical supervision and dispensed by an order of a registered medical practitioner. For example, antibiotics, anxiolytics, antidepressants. These, like, we should not be giving without a proper prescription from a doctor, from a physician, from a registered medical practitioner. Without having the prescription from them, we should not be uh, selling the drugs. Now, coming to drug nomenclature, every drug is going to get be named. So every drug has this nomenclature, means it is kind of naming the drug. Every drug has three types of names. Those are chemical name, non-proprietary or generic name, proprietary or trade or brand name. Chemical name is that chemical composition of the drug, whatever it is. This drug can be like manufactured, can be studied on, but it might not come into the market. It might come or might not come. But before it has come into the market, that drug will have some composition, which is a chemical name. Coming to non-proprietary or generic name, this non-proprietary or generic name normally, usually assigned by United States Adopted Name Council or by British Approved Name Council. And when this is assigned by them after uh, through the WHO, this world will other nations come into common um, decision to call that certain drug with a name. This when included in an official pharmacopoeia. We will discuss further what is that pharmacopoeia. When included in an official pharmacopoeia, the non-proprietary name becomes an official name. Like whatever the name is given here by the council and is being and has been uh, like went through the WHO to other nations will become an official name. For example, here acetyl salicylic acid is the chemical name of a drug, and then it is named as aspirin. It is a non-proprietary name. And when coming to this proprietary or trade or brand name, after this drug has been given a name, common name, it will come out into the market. In the market, many companies can manufacture the drug with that same principle. Then they will give whatever name they are like that company decides to give. This is called proprietary or trade or brand name. Like here, for example, you must have heard like these names: EcoSprin, Disprin. These are trade names. These are that branded names on that tablet cover. Like you will see the name, but actually for that non-proprietary name will be the same. It is aspirin. And see, paracetamol. Must have heard Crocin, Calpol, and for example, Dolo 650. It is very common now. These are all having the one ingredient which is paracetamol. And coming to ampicillin, for example, like biocillin, brocillin, exactly, etc. Sorry, and this is what is called drug nomenclature. So in drug nomenclature, every drug is having three types of name: chemical name, non-proprietary or generic name, proprietary or trade or brand name. Here another thing you have to remember is this United States adopted name can be sometimes it is different from British approved name. For example, like epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, noradrenaline. You need not be confused because both both are the same drug. Epinephrine and adrenaline and norepinephrine and noradrenaline are the same drug, but in USA it is called epinephrine and norepinephrine. In UK it is called adrenaline and noradrenaline. Now coming to sources of information about drugs. We study about drugs in textbooks, but in textbooks we cannot read about the trade names or like what where is it being stored, where it is being dispensed, and how is the uh, chemical structure of it, like identification, like any standards of purity, etc. We cannot see completely in the textbooks. So for that, these are the sources of information about the drugs, which are called pharmacopoeias. These limit the drug information up to drug substances and dosage forms, and its committee usually has predominance of physicians. These pharmacopoeias, when being formed, they are mostly having the physicians, means doctors will be working on this pharmacopoeia. It has drug information up to drug substances and dosage forms. Coming to formulary, this deals with pharmaceutical ingredients also. Here there are no ingredients. Here it we deals with pharmaceutical ingredients also. And here this committee has predominance of pharmacists. Here it is physicians in pharmacopoeia. In formulary, it is predominance of pharmacists. And these both pharmacopoeias and formulary collectively known as drug compendia. Drug compendia. This drug compendia can be official and non-official. This official drug compendia, in this There are non-proprietary names of the drug, as we saw earlier. The non-proprietary names of drugs, for example, paracetamol, aspirin, etc. These are legally approved drugs for use in that country. Wherever the pharmacopoeia or formulary is formed, in that country it will show whatever the legally approved drugs. Coming to non-official drug compendia, it is a secondary source. Here you can find the drugs both by trade names as well by generic names. And here the information is generalized. You can find all like not only like that approved drugs in that country. You can also see other drugs like in found in other country also. This information is generalized and not restricted to only those approved. This is non-official compendia. Now, for information like this is pharmacopoeias and formulary in the country, like in UK or Europe. British pharmacopoeia and formulary is called pharmaceutical codex. These are the names. Pharmaceutical codex. In United States, it is United States Pharmacopoeia and National Formulary. In India, it is Indian Pharmacopoeia and Formulary, National Formulary of India. This is to be remembered because in case if you want to refer to any information on the drugs, you can refer to Indian Pharmacopoeia or like National Formulary of India if you want the ingredients also. Now, different subdivisions of pharmacology. Here, pharmacokinetics. In further going into the pharmacology, when you're getting taught about different drugs in different systems, every time, sorry, every time you will be taught about this pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of drugs. So you have to pay attention to this, and this will be further explained in detail in next classes. What is this? What are the pharmacokinetics? Is deals with absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion of the drugs. ADME. So here you will deal with the absorption. Like when we take a drug, it should be absorbed, right? It should be absorbed and it should be distributed in the body to act optimally, like in the part in the like whatever pathological condition or like physiological condition, it should act on it. So here what we are going to study is what the body does to the drug. Like as soon as the drug enters, what is the body going to do to the drug? It is pharmacokinetics. Then pharmacodynamics. This is biological effects by drugs. Now, after the drug is has been dealt with the by the body will like absorb it, distribute it in the body. Then the drug starts acting, right? So that is when it will come into effect. It is biological effects by drugs and site at which it acts and relationship between plasma concentration of the drug response and duration of action. These you may not understand quite here. Like these words can be difficult for you, but if further when you will be explained in detail in the next classes, you will understand. And pharmacotherapeutics. What is pharmacotherapeutics? Clinical application of the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics about the drug in prevention, treatment, or diagnosis of a disease. So here, what is happening? Oh, you will know about the drug, like how the drug is being absorbed by the human body and how the drug is acting on the human body. This study, whatever you have learned about the drug, you will apply it in the preventing the disease or like treating the disease or diagnosing the disease. Diagnosing means like coming to know like how what is the disease, that's called diagnosis. And benefit is the endpoint. Here you have to see that like there should be benefit to the patient, whoever you are giving to the drug to. That is pharmacotherapeutics. It is the clinical application. Now, coming to clinical pharmacology, it deals with the protocols of clinical evaluation of a new drug in healthy volunteers and patients. Here, what is happening is it is like when for a drug to come into market, we should study, right? Like we should study what is the drug, what is the how the drug is going to act. Like before we will do clinical trials, kind of like clinically we will evaluate the drug. So for that we will have a protocol, like we stepwise things will happen. This is all is dealt by in this clinical pharmacology. And it also includes feedback monitoring of adverse effects of a drug. Means after the drug is clinically evaluated, let's say it is like ascertained that drug is acting certainly well on a disease, it gets released into the market. But after the patients start to use, it may have some adverse effects, because the patients like we may not have the same physiological conditions, everyone. So some may react to it differently. These adverse effects also will be monitored in this clinical pharmacology. What are the like side effects of the drug? Now, toxicology. This toxicology deals with toxicity of drugs and poisonous effects of various chemicals in use. Means like even in drugs, some are having a poisonous um, effects. So these should also be dealt, and it is also a vast subject. And this toxicology, it is also concerned with symptoms and treatment of any poisoning. In this toxicology, harm is the endpoint. Here, you can see in this, I said benefit is the endpoint. Here, harm is the endpoint. What does it mean is, it doesn't mean you're harming. It means in this study, like the poisonous substances have a harm. At the endpoint, when you're studying about the drug, it has no benefit to the patient. Instead, it is causing some harm. So you are studying those kind of substances, like those substances which are causing harm. And now coming to chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, it deals with the treatment of systemic infections or malignancy with drugs that have selective toxicity for the infecting organisms or malignant cells with minimal toxicity to the host cell. What it is mean is, chemotherapy is systemic infections, like for example any like malaria or typhoid, like cholera. These are all infections, right? Like these infections to be treated, whatever treatment is being given. And also malignancy means cancer. In this, when you are treating those drugs, you will see to it like it has a selective toxicity to act on the only the organism. It should not affect the body of the patient. It should be affecting only the organism or only the tumor cells, the cancer cells. So this is all dealt with in chemotherapy. Now coming to pharmacogenetics. Pharmacogenetics is a study of inherited differences in drug metabolism or drug response in humans. Here, what it means is, human beings differ from each other, and everyone have a different kind of physiological setup of their body. So we have differences. Like for me, like it might like one enzyme may be working better than an enzyme working in you. Like there can be faster working enzymes, and there can be slower working enzymes. For example, there is a thing like slow acetylators and fast acetylators. There is a drug called isoniazid. You will further know. Now you may not understand the drug names or anything concerned to it, but you will further know. These what I mean is that drug may be uh, metabolized differently in you than me. Like every person have a different kind of response to a drug. So these responses, whatever is causing because of the inherited differences, will be studied under this pharmacogenetics, study of inherited differences in drug metabolism or drug response in humans. Coming to pharmacogenomics, it makes the use of genetic makeup of an individual so as to choose a particular drug therapy for the responders only and to avoid giving such drugs to the non-responders. Here, what it means is we will study whatever inherited like differences in genetics. In genomics, you will see to that like you will select an individual, you will see his genetic makeup. Like okay, like this person having a gene which can effectively uh, metabolize a certain drug. This drug is more effective in this person. So, like that, they are going to choose a particular drug therapy for a particular person, individual. It is also called tailored therapy. Tailored means, tailor. They are going to tailor how according to your measurements. That's what happens here also. They will give drug to the person for whom is responding to the drug. To the non-responders, they will not be giving the drugs because even though you give, it is a waste of drugs. So like that, they will use this genetic makeup of an individual and they choose that particular drug therapy fit for that patient. This is called pharmacogenomics. These studies are going on. Coming to pharmacoepidemiology. Pharmacoepidemiology. This is study of use and effects of a drug in large population after its approval for clinical use. Let's say a new drug came, it is approved for a clinical use, but after giving into the market, after taking a large population, like they will study all the use and the effects of the drug in the population, in a large population. Then it is called pharmacoepidemiology. Now coming to pharmacovigilance. This is an important part you have to remember. Science related to the detection, assessment, understanding and prevention of adverse effects or any other drug related problem. DAUP. Detection adverse effects. As I told you, after the drug comes into the market, it might have some side effects which has to be monitored. So these adverse effects should be this science related to the detecting what is that adverse effect and assessment what is causing that adverse effect and understanding and what kind of adverse effect it is and how it can be mitigated, etc. And prevention, how it can be prevented further. All this related science comes under this pharmacovigilance. This is science related to the detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of adverse effects or any other drug related problem. Now coming to other allied fields of pharmacology, pharmacy, as you have heard me very commonly, it is this pharmacy. It is differs from pharmacology how it deals with the manufacture, compounding, Like it is kind of profession. It is dealing with this manufacture, compounding, and dispensing of drugs for the therapeutic use. In pharmacology, we are studying. Here, pharmacy, we are manufacturing, means we are producing. We are studying about the manufacture, how is it being produced also. So, manufacture, compounding, and dispensing of drugs for therapeutic use. Coming to pharmacognosy, here we study it. We study about the sources and identification of drugs from various sources such as plants, minerals, animals, etc. This study of source from where the drug is coming, and what is that kind of drug we are getting from the particular plant or animal. This whole study is called pharmacognosy. Coming to biopharmaceutics, this is a study of effects of drug formulation on the therapeutic response. Means after giving a drug, what kind of response is that that patient's body is giving. It they will study the effects of the drug formulation on the therapeutic response. Now coming to these schedules is like these are laws. These in India, like there are legislative laws to drugs, to have like a different like dealing with the different kinds of uh, um, uh, situations related to the drugs. If like we go into the schedules, there are many schedules like A, B, C, D, and all. I'm going to just discuss about some common like some schedules which are very common in usage, like this schedule G. Like this schedule G deals with the details of the drugs to be labeled with the words like caution. It is dangerous to take this preparation except under medical supervision. Like you must have seen like for many drugs on that sheet or something, you will have this for some drugs caution. There will be given that caution. It is dangerous to take this preparation except under medical supervision. Those things will be dealt under this law, this schedule, say schedule G. And schedule H, this is very common. This schedule H is dealing with the drugs and medicines which must be sold by retail only when a prescription by registered medical practitioner is produced. These many drugs comes under this schedule H, and you will commonly see here like you are dealing with like the what are the drugs that are being sold by the prescription given by the physician. So this is schedule H. Schedule M, this is good manufacturing practice. In schedule M again there are like M1, 2 and 3. This schedule M totally what it is dealing with is good manufacturing practices and requirement of premises, plant and equipment. What it means is like the drug should be produced somewhere, right? Like some factory or something. Those manufacturing, like how are they producing? Are they producing in quality or not? And the premises of whatever the place where the drug they are producing is uh, like having the requirements it needs or not, and how is that plant where that producing means that factory or kind of, and is that equipment as good or not, how the equipment should be, how the plant should be, and how the practices should be will be all dealt under this schedule M. Now, Schedule P deals with the expiry period of the drug formulations. We will have certain months. It should be like on the drug. Uh, you will have the sheet on the sheet. You might have that it should be used before this few whatever months from the date of manufacture. These kind of things. The expiry period will be dealt in the Schedule P. And Schedule W, it gives the names of the drugs which shall be marketed under generic names only. We have already studied, right? Like what are generic names? like aspirin, paracetamol, etc. Like for some drugs, this like Schedule W will give like these drugs should not be marketed with some trade name. It should be sold in generic only. Coming to Schedule X, if this schedule gives the name of psychotropic drugs requiring special licenses for manufacture and sale. You will further know what is psychotropic drugs. Now it is difficult to explain. Schedule Y, specific requirements and guidelines on clinical trials, import and manufacture of new drugs. Uh, when a drug should be produced, there will be some clinical trials as to like how to is this drug is beneficial or not, is it having a therapeutic benefit, etc. What is the mechanism of action, everything will go through, right? Like for a new drug to produce a new drug, for that there should be specific requirements and guidelines. Those are all dealt under this Schedule 1. Also that import and manufacture means the new drugs where are getting manufactured and where it is going to be sent, or where from where it is going to be brought into the country. These are all dealt under this Schedule 1. These schedules are nothing but kind of laws, legislative laws in India deals with the drugs. Now coming to nature and source of drugs. There, these are the brief outline, the main headings: synthetic source, vegetable source, animal source, microbiological source, mineral source, and genetical engineered or biotechnology based drugs, also called biopharmaceuticals or biological agents. Now, synthetic source is these drugs are synthesized in the laboratories. These now majority of the drugs we are obtaining from this, like the synthetic like synthetically or semi synthetically, we are having many drugs. These advantages of the synthetic source of drugs is their quality can be better controlled. Since we are producing this in a industry, you can see how much percentage or how much amount of a drug we are seeing, or how better, sorry, not how much, its quantity, sorry. And that quality means how better it is getting, like how purified or kind of, it can be better controlled in laboratory, and the process is easier and cheaper. And the chemical structure of the prototype drug can be modified in search of better, more potent and safer drug. What it means is, prototype drug means for every any set of drugs, like say anti hypertensive drugs or anti-diabetic drugs, they have first they must be starting from one drug, right? Like that is called it has a main principle that prototype drug you can take, and from there you can develop different kind of drugs, like first class, second class, like that. You can keep on modifying that chemical structure of that main prototype drug to search for the better, more potent and safer drug. Coming to vegetable source, in vegetable source again these are divided into alkaloids, glycosides, oils, gums, tannins, resins. Alkaloids, these are nitrogenous, this you should remember, nitrogenous heterocyclic bases derived from plants. Nitrogenous heterocyclic bases derived from plants. These are insoluble in water. These are normally insoluble in water, but these are alkali like, so they form salts with acids. When mixed with acids, they form the salt which are water soluble. Normally insoluble, but when mixed with acids, they form salts and then they can be water soluble. Examples: atropine. comes from this Atropa belladonna, quinine, cinchona bark, morphine, papaverum somniferum, reserpine, Rauwolfia serpentina, nicotine, tobacco leaves. Nicotine, common, like the cigarette and all. Atropine, these drugs, all the drugs, you will further see in individual drug system. These are the plant, the alkaloids which they are derived from. This first one, it is Atropa belladonna, from which that atropine is coming. And the second one, it is cinchona bark, from which this quinine is coming. Like quinine is being prepared. Now glycosides, these are also plant product where a sugar moiety is joined to a non-sugar moiety. See, sugar moiety, non-sugar moiety with a ether linkage. This is the linkage with ether linkage. These, for example, like that sugar and non-sugar moiety usually mix. It is when it is formed, it is called glycoside. And here, when the sugar is glucose, it is called glucoside. And if the sugar is amino sugar, it is called aminoglycoside. So glycoside, glucoside, aminoglycoside. Pharmacological activity of a glycoside resides in its non-sugar molecule. These are sugar, these are non-sugar, right? In this non-sugar, whatever pharmacological activity, that drug actions, whatever it is going to take, is there in this non-sugar moiety. Then this is also called as aglycone. So pharmacological activity of a glycoside resides in its non-sugar molecule, which is called as aglycone. But then what is the sugar portion is doing? This sugar portion governs the pharmacokinetic characteristics of the glycosides, which means um, like to move, like when the drug is given, it should be well moved in body, right? Like it should be well absorbed to have the effects. This sugar portion will help in its better absorption or better movement, etc. Example, digoxin, which are being prepared from foxglove leaves, Hubane, which is being prepared from Strophanthus gratus. These are the images of the plants. This is foxglove. This is that Strophanthus gratus. Now coming to oils. Oils are two types of oils are generally used. Those are essential oils and fixed oils. In these essential oils, these are obtained from the leaves or flower petals by steam distillation. So these are steam volatile. Volatile means they can easily evaporate kind of. So these oils doesn't have any caloric or food value. Means like if you're taking the oil, you are going to have a calories like or some vitamins or like anything. Like it is not like eating a normal food. It doesn't have any value. These do not form soaps with alkalis and do not become rancid on prolonged stay. Rancid means having a bad smell, foul smell. Like keeping it for a longer time doesn't make it any bad, like doesn't give any bad smell or anything. This example of these oils are eucalyptus oil, clove oil, peppermint oil, ginger oil, and these are mainly like used as some astringents, like mouthwashes or like any flavoring agents, etc. These essential oils are used. Here you can see these are eucalyptus leaves, eucalyptus oil, and this is peppermint oil, peppermint leaves. These are. Now coming to fixed oils. Fixed oils are non-volatile, like it doesn't like easily evaporate. Like these have caloric or food value. Like these might add some calories when taken inside, and these have some values of food. Like it may have some like any carbohydrates or like fat or etc. These oils forms soaps with alkalis. These become rancid after prolonged stay. They might give bad smell if they are left for longer time. So these are obtained by solvent extraction of crushed seeds. That whatever the plant seeds have, if these are crushed and the solvent is extracted, this fixed oil will be prepared. Example: coconut oil, groundnut oil, olive oil. Now others, these like gums. These gums are colloidal exudates of the plants. From plants, some like there will be some oozing of from the plants, and like they will be removed. They either swell or dissolve or form adhesive mucilage in water. Like when they are mixed in water, they might take that water inside and they will swell, or they might dissolve, or they might feel like mucilage means some jelly kind of thing they can make when they mix it in water. Example: gum acacia, gum tragacanth. Tannins. These are non-nitrogenous phenolic derivatives from plant source and are soluble in water. Example: tincture catechol and tincture rhubarb. Here you can see the images. This is gum acacia. Yes, we saw colloidal exudates of plants. It looks like this gum acacia, and tannins more of like they look like some powdery form kind of. Coming to resins. See, this is a tree. From the tree, it is exudating the resin. These are polymers of volatile oil and are insoluble in water. Example: benzoin, tincture benzoin, shellac, etc. Balsams are also a type of resin. These balsams, these are like used. The example: tolu balsam, which is used as an expectorant in cough mixtures. And this benzoin is normally in common cold. It is used like it is inhaled. This benzoin and shellac. This shellac is uh, like used for that enteric coating of a tablet. Coming to animal source, many drugs are obtained from animal source, and it comprises hormones, vitamins, vaccines, serum, etc. Example: insulin from pancreas, from animal pancreas, and then vitamin B12 from liver extracts of animals, or thyroxine from thyroid. Simply saying like whatever that organ is producing, like the pancreas normally produces insulin, which is we are like taking from the animal pancreas. Now coming to microbiological source, this some of the fungi, molds, and bacteria are important source for many life-saving drugs. For example, like since we must have like listened to this many times, penicillin from Penicillium notatum. Penicillium notatum is a fungi. From this, we are getting a penicillin, which is an antibiotic. Like that, chloramphenicol from Streptomyces venezuelae and griseofulvin from Penicillium griseofulvin. These are some examples which the drugs are we are getting from microbiological source. Coming to mineral source, these agents are solid or liquid or mineral preparations, and solid or powder and liquid preparations example are ferrous sulfate. You know very well these iron tablets we are giving to for like anemic patients, and magnesium sulfate. As you know, magnesium sulfate like it can be used as a purgative, and sodium bicarbonate, which can be used as an antacid, like any acidic condition, gastric acidity. Other examples like this is for solid and liquid. Tincture iodine, povidone iodine can be used as an antiseptic preparation. Like you can give it on like topically. Coming to mineral preparation, Mostly like petroleum products and are like obtained by the dry distillation of wood. These doesn't have any food value, like doesn't have any kind of like carbohydrates or proteins or anything like that. Do not become rancid. They doesn't smell. They doesn't give any bad foul smell after leaving so long. Example: hard and soft paraffin, liquid paraffin. So now coming to this genetically engineered or biotechnological based drugs or biopharmaceuticals, biological agents. These are prepared by genetic engineering, which means the manipulation of genetic material using recombinant DNA technology. So they are using this recombinant DNA technology and preparing, as we saw in that pharmacogenomics earlier when we were discussing about that, like they will prepare according to the genetic makeup of that individual, uh, like this, or that is a different thing like pharmacogenomics. But here what we see is they will manipulate certain genetic material in the whatever organism they take. For example, like in like you'll take a desired gene, like let's say this gene is good, we need to further improve, like increase this gene. They will take it and they will keep in a multiplying non-pathogenic strain of some bacteria, well, like which multiplies very fastly. You will put the desired gene in that bacteria and it starts multiplying with the gene. Then that large amounts of gene directed proteins will be like acquired from that multiplying bacteria. That for example that E. coli is used like that. So these are some like prepared by genetic engineering, which means the manipulation of genetic material using recombinant DNA technology. Examples: humulin, that is human insulin, which is getting prepared by this recombinant DNA technology. Recombinant HB, a hepatitis B vaccine, and human erythropoietin. This is a hormone like which stimulates the production of red blood cells. So with this, I conclude this session. Uh, I hope like you understood. And if any doubts, you can comment down below the video. Thank you.